set up the camera for a copy scene or pictures of other pictures or books, for example, you'll need to set the program mode. You'll need to know how to capture a macro picture, set the ISO, set the white balance, and you'll need to test the focus after you've taken your picture. Let's get started by setting the program mode. Simply turn your mode dial to P. This will allow you to set all the other functions you need. There's no macro button that enables the macro function with this camera. You just need to get close with the camera to your subject and press the shutter button halfway to see if the camera can lock a focus point. The distance between the camera and the subject really depends on the lens being used. Currently, I'm using a 14 to 45 millimeter lens, which means with my lens, I can be about 6 to 7 inches away from the subject and still have the subject in focus. If you're using the 14 to 45 lens, what you want to do is actually zoom in. This way, you'll be able to fill up more of the frame with the subject. Depending on the amount of light in your scene, you may or may not need to increase the ISO. Currently, my ISO is set to auto, so when I press the shutter button halfway, I'll see what the camera chooses as an ISO as well as what the camera chooses as the shutter speed. Currently, you can see the ISO selected is 320 and my shutter speed is 1/60th of a second. If the image quality is very critical, I should be able to lower the ISO a little bit and still maintain a fast enough shutter speed. With a lower ISO, the image quality will be slightly improved. To set the ISO, press the ISO button right here. I'll go down and set it to 200. This way, the image quality will be a little bit better than if it were at 320. Press Set to escape. Now I'll press my shutter button halfway again, and you can see my shutter speed is now at 1/40th of a second, which is still easy to hand hold. As long as your shutter speed is above 1/30th of a second, you should be just fine. Now we need to set the appropriate white balance. This is very important for accurate color. Press the WB button right here. If you're outdoors in the shade, you can choose the shade white balance right here. If you're indoors and you have a couple incandescent lights on your subject, then you can just choose tungsten. If this picture is just for reference and the color is not that important, then it doesn't matter which white balance setting you choose. You can choose auto white balance if you want. Once you've chosen the proper white balance, press the Set button to escape. Now the flash is turned off, my ISO is properly set, my white balance is properly set, I'm zoomed in all the way so the subject fills up as much of the frame as possible. If the subject in your scene is larger, then you certainly don't have to zoom in all the way. But if it's a small subject, like an old photograph, then you can zoom in all the way to fill up the frame. Press the shutter button halfway with the focusing brackets over your subject. This will lock focus. Now you can recompose the image if you need to, and then simply press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. Once you've captured your picture, it's very important to test the focus. Go ahead and press the playback button to access the last picture taken. Right now it looks like the picture is in focus, but I can't truly tell because the image is not magnified enough. What you want to do is magnify the image to get a much closer look at it. Use the rear dial, roll it to the right in order to magnify the image. You should magnify the image as much as possible, then use the navigation buttons to move around the image. I'll move over to the left and then go up to what I focused on with the original picture. Now I can actually see that the image really is in focus. If this was a little bit soft, I would not know it by looking at the entire image. Roll the dial to the left in order to zoom back out.